Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. And above all else, that you are looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you my top five albums of 10cc. 10cc from Stockport, England, formed in the early 1970s. The original lineup consisted of Kevin Godley, Lowell Creme, Eric Stewart, and Graham Gouldman. They would be signed to such labels as UK, Mercury, and Polydor. Now, in terms of their musical style, they have been listed as art pop, art rock, progressive pop, and avant pop, whatever avant pop is. They would release 11 studio albums over the course of their career. Kevin Godley and Lowell Creme would leave the band in late 1976. Originally, it was supposed to be temporarily, so they could work on a solo project, but inner creative tensions within the band that started to come up um, forced basically Kevin Godley and Lowell Creme to leave the band permanently. And when you talk to the members of the band, specifically Eric Stewart and Kevin Godley, uh, they would say that there was always two camps in the band, Godley and Creme on one side, which they would contribute more of the uh, avant-garde experimental type of music, and Eric Stewart and Graham Gouldman on one side, which would basically contribute the more straightforward pop rock ideas for the band. But if you talk to anyone that is a fan of the band, especially of the early albums in the 70s, they would agree that it was the four members together that created some wonderful music together. So there you go. The band would uh, reunite in 1991 at the request of Polydor Records, their label at the time, to work together on an album. And they would release a one-off reunion album called Meanwhile in 1993. And another note, between the years of 1973 to 1978, 10cc were awarded five consecutive top 10 albums in the UK charts. So not a small feat. Now, I have put together my top five albums of 10cc, and here we go. Coming in at number five, we have the self-titled debut, released July of 1973, recorded in 1972, with a playing time of 34 minutes and change, released on UK Records. All these albums on the list were produced by the band themselves at their own studio. Now, what I liked about 10cc, especially in the early albums, the rule was there was no rules. Whatever you wanted to do musically, you did. Okay. And the fact that all members of the band were songwriters, multi-instrumentalists, uh, lead vocalists, and producers meant that nothing was off the table. You could do whatever the hell you wanted to do. You could introduce any type of instrumentation that you wanted, and it worked most often than not. So, starting off with the self-titled debut, you have the lead-off track, Johnny Don't Do It. Now, most of the songs on the album range in between 2 minutes and change to 5 minutes and change. But within that song structure, within that time frame, you have a lot of instrumentation, a lot of innovation, a lot of musical ideas that came together so well. Again, the album starts off with Johnny Don't Do It, clocking in at 3 minutes and 36 seconds. To me, this has a bit of a lot of influence of 1950s doo-wop music within the vocal structures of the harmonies and within the instrumentation. Up next is a track called Sand in My Face. Again, 3 minutes and 36 seconds. One of the singles is next from the album, Donna. 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Again, there was, in terms of lyrical ideas, the same rule applied. The rule was the Warner rules. Whatever you wanted to write about, you wrote about. Next up is a track called The Dean and I at 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Headline Hustler is next at 3 minutes and 31 seconds. Speed Kills, fantastic harmony vocals and call and response. Up next, track seven is one of the other singles from the album, Rubber Bullets, 5 minutes and 15 seconds. Great, just fantastic. Up next is a track called The Hospital Song at 2 minutes and 41 seconds. And this is basically a track where the individual is saying that he is liable or possibly able to catch every communicative disease known to mankind, right? Beautifully done. Um, the album ends off with, and this would become a bit of a trademark for the albums. They would always end off the albums with what you would call a serious quote unquote track. And on the debut album, it's a track called Fresh Air for My Mama at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Beautiful vocals, beautiful arrangement in terms of the instruments. Um, just lovely, just and a great way to end the album. Um, the term pop confection for this album would fit. But also in terms of that, I was going to, with 10cc, um, as long as you're open to any possibility in terms of musical arrangement or lyrical idea, you're in, right? They're fantastic. Coming in at number four, we have How Dare You, released January 1976, with a playing time of 42 minutes and 53 seconds, recorded in 1975, again produced by the band. Uh, this would be the last album to feature the original lineup of Gardley, Creme, Stewart, and Goldman. It starts off with the instrumental title track, written by Gardley and Creme, of 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Beautifully done. I like I like bands that um, are confident enough to release an instrumental as the lead-off track on an album. Beautifully done, very eclectic percussion work, beautiful guitar work, very melodic, just wonderful, wonderful. Up next is a track called Lazy Ways, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I Want to Rule the World, one of the more idiosyncratic tracks on the album. 3 minutes and 57 seconds. What I like about that track is it's a lot of use of call and response in terms of the vocal arrangements. Up next is another track, I'm Mandy, Fly Me, at 5 minutes and 24 seconds. Very interesting. Iceberg is next, another what I call pop confection track. Um, Coming up is a track which is one of the first single from the album, Art for Art's Sake, clocking in at just under 6 minutes, 5 minutes and 59 seconds. Beautifully done. Rock and Roll Lullaby, straightforward rock pop confection. Headroom is next. It's all right. 4 minutes and 21 seconds. We all need a little headroom. There is an innuendo in that statement there in that title. There you go. Uh, Up next is the final track, track nine, called Don't Hang Up at 6 minutes and 16 seconds. And this is where the individual in the track is trying to say, is talking to someone on the phone, and he's trying to say, please don't give up on me. I'll do better. Please give me a chance. Spoiler alert, they hang up on him. Right? Great album. Great album. Is it as strong as the original soundtrack? I'll let you decide that. But I carry on. Up next is the album coming in at number three. We have uh, Deceptive Bends, released May of 1977. Playing time of 39 minutes and 32 seconds. Recorded from October of 76 to March of 77. Now, with Deceptive Bends, first of all, the title came from a road sign that Eric Stewart would see going to the studio every day. And he liked the idea of that for a title. Of course, you see from the graphic, the woman being carried by the scuba diver or deep sea diver. And Eric Stewart brought the title idea to Graham Goldman, and he liked it, so they kept the title. Now, this album was the first album to be recorded without Gardley and Creme. And according to Eric Stewart, they had a lot to prove to themselves, to the record company, to the record buying public, to the media, Can they produce a worthy album without the influence of Godley and Creme in the band? And Eric Stewart was adamant they were going to prove everybody wrong that they could. And in his mind, they delivered. Now, the album starts off with a track called Good Morning Judge at 2 minutes and 55 seconds. This started out as a demo called Voodoo Boogie with Godley and Creme contributing. However, um, the track was put on the shelf after Godley and Creme officially left the band permanently. They took it off the shelf, dusted it off, and re-recorded it under this title. Beautiful harmony vocals, a nice use of call and response on this track. Wonderful. Now, the next track, The Things We Do for Love, written by Stewart. 3 minutes and 27 seconds of pop confection. Okay, this is the track that broke them open in North America. It was number one on the Canadian singles charts. Beautiful harmonies, beautiful guitar work, just amazing. And it's just, a relationship-oriented song. And it's delivered beautifully, majestically, I should say. Up next is a track called Marriage Bureau Rendezvous, Goldman track, 4 minutes and 4 seconds. People in Love, the next single from the album, 3 minutes and 48 seconds, another Eric Stewart track. Beautifully done. Again, the harmonies that he could do with Graham Goodman, sorry, amazing, just amazing. Up next is a track called Modern Man Blues. Both Goodman and Stewart on this track, 5 minutes and 35 seconds. It's their stab at blues, and they do a good job of it. They really do. Up next is a track called Honeymoon with B Troop. Goldman track, 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Again, pop confection, right? A lot of use of harmony vocals. Up next is another track called I Bought a Flat Guitar Tutor. 1 minute 48 seconds, an Eric Stewart composition. You've Got a Cold is track 8 on the album. Again, there were no limits when it came to song titles, lyric ideas, or music ideas whatsoever with the band. Now, the album ends off with an 11-minute, 32-second piece called Feel the Benefit, and it's split up into 3 sections. Reminisce and Speculate, a Latin Break, and Feel the Benefit. Is this the response to another, I guess you'd say, opus on the previous album, the original soundtrack? We'll wait and see. It is a good track, a lot of good use of symphonic strings, lush vocals, lush arrangements, beautifully executed. Did they succeed without Godley and Creme in the band? I'd say they did with this album. They did. Coming up next at number 2, we have Sheet Music, released May 24th, 1974, released again through UK Records, the last release for UK Records, with a playing time of 37 minutes and 12 seconds, recorded in January 1974. Kevin Godley and Eric Stewart, and I do believe Graham Goldman would say that sheet music was 10cc's zenith in terms of their releases. I'm not sure I agree, but this album is quite eclectic musically. It starts off with a track called The Wall Street Shuffle at 3 minutes and 54 seconds. The next track, The Worst Band in the World at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Again, a lot of use of harmony vocals, very lush arrangements, beautifully done, beautifully executed. Up next, the track Hotel. Again, great track. Old Wild Men at 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Clockwork Creep is another good track. The single from the album was a track called Silly Love at 4 minutes and 1 second. Again, pop confection. tight harmony vocals, just beautifully done. Um, Up next is a track called Somewhere in Hollywood at 6 minutes and 39 seconds. Baron Samedi is the next track, 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Again, Pop Confection. Track 9 is a track called The Sacroiliac. That's about a certain dance that you can do. And the album ends with the track Oh Effendi at 2 minutes and 49 seconds. It's interesting to note that these two band members, Godley and Stewart, and also Goldman, believe that sheet music was the zenith of the band. Whether or not they thought that maybe something was going to happen, you know, regarding a split, I have no idea. But I do find it interesting. This album is very open, very eclectic, very much all over the map. But that's even at this point, being a second release, that's what you came to expect from 10cc, right? Now, coming in at number one is the original soundtrack, released March 11th, 1975, playing time of 41 minutes and 46 seconds. This is their first release for Mercury Records. I'll explain what happened. The band were, again, signed to UK Records, headed by Jonathan King. They were very unhappy with what was going on with the record company, with the contract that they signed, because they didn't feel they were getting promoted enough or enough exposure, and they had no money. So I do believe that Kevin Godley called around and called Polygram, and he said, "Come around the studio and see what we're doing." So the A&R guy from Polygram, Mercury, went and he heard the track that they played him, and he's like, "What do you want? I'll give it to you. I love this. We need to have this. What do you want?" So, on the strength of that one track, they signed their first $1 million deal with Mercury Records for 5 albums over the next few years. That track was I'm Not in Love. Now, I'll get into that in a sec. The original soundtrack, again, uh, fantastic album. Starts off with the 8 minute and 40 second opus Une Nuit à Paris, which means One Night in Paris. And that piece is split into 3 sections: One Night in Paris, The Same Night in Paris, and later That Same Night in Paris. And that one track alone sold this album to me. It is Edith Piaf. It is vaudeville. It is dance hall. It is burlesque. It is all those influences wrapped up into one neat little package. And it works. It really does work. With I was going to say again, XTC, with 10cc, you have to open your mind up to the possibility of anything is going to come out of the speakers. And with this one track, it does. Okay. Up next, after Une Nuit à Paris, you have I'm Not in Love, a single from the album, their worldwide breakout single, 6 minutes and 8 seconds. And this track, apparently there was a bit of a dissension in the ranks because Godley and Creme didn't want to record it. They thought it was rubbish. They thought it was crap. But Stewart and Goldman continued. They persevered. They pushed for it. So Godley and Creme relented. Lush vocals, uh, beautifully done, beautifully exquisite vocals, wonderful textured keyboards, very ethereal, okay, with the use of the synths and electric piano. And it was a worldwide hit. And they did gain a bit of criticism from journalists thinking that they couldn't recreate the vocals live in concert. Well, you know what? Who gives a shit? I mean, it was the 70s. Opulence and over the top were the two mantras, or one of the two of the many mantras, I should say, for that decade. So, what are you going to say, right? Up next is a final track on side one. Again, another Pop Confection track called Blackmail. Side two starts off with the second sitting for the Last Supper um, at 4 minutes and 25 seconds. What I like about this track is the time signature changes in the track. And again, when they did their time signature changes, it was effortless, it was seamless. They got to be very good at doing that. And they could convey a list of emotions within one piece of music. And they did so with the second sitting for the Last Supper. Up next is another, I guess you call it, pop confection track called Brand New Day. Flying Junk comes next. Both those tracks are in the 4 minute range, 4 minutes and 4 seconds, and 4 minutes and 10 seconds, respectively. Beautifully done. Track seven is the second single from the album. Life is a Minestrone, as in minestrone soup. Uh, Beautifully done. Exquisite harmony vocals, wonderful, thick, excuse me, rich guitar tone. What I like about 10cc's guitar tone is that it's very distinctive. It's very rich, very thick, very meaty tone, but borders on fuzz guitar. Okay. Depending on what amp they were using to record, I mean, it just seemed supercharged. Okay, in terms of the guitar style, the guitar tone they were using, beautifully done. The album ends with the film of my love, 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Now, I do believe it's Kevin Godley on this track. Now, it starts off with what I hear as could be one of the first possible uses of a drum machine very early on, but it almost sounds like a bossa nova beat or rhythm. And then it goes into a 3/4 time signature, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it just goes through the track. And the vocals on the film of my love are very grand, very opulent, very over the top, but almost delivered purposely so. Um, just very much in your face, very proud and very opulent in their delivery, but beautifully done, right? And that ends off the album, and I think it's a good way to end off the original soundtrack. Uh, I think that the original soundtrack to me is my top my top album from XTC. XTC again, 10cc. Sorry. Now, I did mention at the top of the video that they did release uh, a reunion album in 1993 called Meanwhile. Uh, to me, I listened to the album. To me, it doesn't sound like a 10cc album. It sounds like a Eric Stewart and Graham Gouldman album with Godley and Creme providing background vocals. First of all, Polydor offered them money to do it, and they all four agreed to do it. Stewart and Gouldman wrote 22 tracks at the time. They had a stockpile of tracks. And Stewart said that these tracks were just as good as any music that they'd written together as a four-piece. I would have to disagree. I do find the album very one note, very sort of one-sided in terms of musical approach. I don't find it to be a true 10cc album. I was almost going to say XTC again. I don't find it to be a full-fledged 10cc release. Uh, I do believe that it's a Stewart and Gouldman release with Godley and Crumb coming along for the ride, right? It just doesn't cut it for me. And I should also mention that 10cc released a 14-disc box set called 20 Years. In 2023 and 2024, there was a reissue done on the box set because there were complaints that on the discs that had the B-sides and rarities that the song skipped on those discs. So they had to reissue the set. It's called 20 Years. Please check it out. It's a 14 disc set. So you get the 11 studio albums Plus, you get 3 additional discs of unreleased material, etc. Please check it out. You can get 20 years on Amazon.ca for around $137 directly through Amazon.ca. So that's it, guys. My top 5 albums of 10cc. Please let me know down in the comments below what your favorite albums are. Is it the era after the departure of Godley and Creme, or is it the era with Godley and Creme? There are no right or wrong answers. Again, just opinion, right? So please let me know what you think. I've got more shows coming up with Jim Brigger and Ken Cheshire, and yes, Bill Schuster is coming back for more episodes. So please stay tuned for that. Please look after yourselves. Click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell again to keep yourselves on top of any new content I've got coming up. That's it for now. Again, look after one another, and I'll see you soon with more videos. Bye for now.